What do I want someone to understand after seeing this? Not what do I want to sell, not what do I want to promote, just what do I want them to understand. Maybe it is something simple that you help people simplify their marketing, that you focus on long term thinking, that you solve one specific problem really well. When that part is clear, the rest becomes easier. The platform matters less, the format matters less, the wording becomes calmer. You stop trying to impress and start trying to be understood. This also changes how you choose what not to do. You do not feel the same pressure to jump on every trend. You do not feel behind when you skip a platform because you know what you are trying to communicate. Marketing stops being reactive and starts being intentional. And that shift is subtle but powerful. There is another reason this feels difficult. Simple messages are harder to create than complex ones. Complex messages can hide uncertainty. You can list features. You can use broad language. You can sound professional without being clear. Simple messages force you to decide what actually matters, and that can feel uncomfortable because choosing one message means letting go of others. But clarity is not about saying everything. It is about saying the right thing at the right time. This is why good marketing often feels quiet. It is not trying to cover every angle. It is trying to land one idea well. And when that happens, people remember you. Not because you said more, but because you said something they understood. Let's talk about those moments when marketing feels stuck, when you feel like you have said everything already, or like nothing sounds right. This usually happens when you are too close to your own work. You are trying to say too much at once. A helpful way out of this is to step back and think about conversations, not content. What questions do people ask you again and again? What do they misunderstand? What do they hesitate about before working with you? Those are marketing signals. They are telling you what clarity is missing. You do not need new ideas. You need to explain existing ones better. This is another reason marketing feels lighter when clarity improves. You are not inventing things. You are translating what you already know into language other people understand. When this way of thinking starts to click, something interesting happens. You stop measuring success only by output. You start noticing how people respond. They ask better questions. They understand you faster. They make decisions more confidently. Even when they say no, it feels cleaner, less confusion, less back and forth. That is still marketing working. Clarity helps people choose, even when the answer is not yes, and that builds trust over time. There's another shift that happens when clarity improves, and it's subtle but important. You stop feeling like you are constantly doing marketing, and you start feeling like marketing is simply part of how you show up. This matters because a lot of people feel like marketing is a separate mode they have to switch into. Now I am working. Now I am doing marketing. And that separation creates pressure. It makes marketing feel performative, like you have to sound a certain way, like you have to keep up appearances, like you have to say something even when you do not really have anything to say. Clarity removes that pressure. Because when you know what you stand for and who you are speaking to, you are not inventing a version of yourself for marketing. You are just expressing what you already know. That makes marketing feel less like an obligation and more like communication. And communication is something you already do every day. You explain things to colleagues. You clarify expectations. You answer questions. Marketing is not that different. The only difference is that you are doing it more intentionally. A lot of people struggle with consistency in marketing. They start strong, they post regularly, they try new things, and then it slowly fades. This is usually explained as a motivation problem, but most of the time, it is not. It is a clarity problem. Consistency is hard when you do not know what you are being consistent about. If every piece of content feels like a brand new decision, you will burn out quickly. What should I say this time? What angle should I take? Is this still relevant? Clarity reduces the number of decisions you have to make. When you know your core message, consistency becomes repetition with intention. You are not repeating yourself because you have nothing new to say. You are repeating yourself because clarity takes repetition to land. Most people do not hear something once and remember it. They need to encounter it in different ways over time. Good marketing understands that. It does not panic and move on too quickly. There's something else worth addressing. A lot of people worry that clarity will make their marketing boring, that if they simplify too much, they will lose personality. In practice, the opposite usually happens. Confusing marketing is boring because it requires effort from the audience. Clear marketing is engaging because it is easy to follow. When people understand you, they relax. And when they relax, they pay attention. Clarity does not remove personality. It gives personality room to show up. You are not hiding behind clever wording or vague promises. You are being understandable. That is not boring. That is respectful. Here is a small reframe that helps over the long term. Instead of asking whether your marketing is interesting, ask whether it is useful. Interesting can be subjective. Useful is clearer. Does this help someone understand something better? Does this reduce confusion? Does this make a decision feel easier? When you measure marketing this way, a lot of pressure disappears. You are no longer competing for attention. You are offering clarity. And clarity is surprisingly rare. There's one more effect of clarity that doesn't get talked about very often. It changes how confident you feel when you talk about your work. Not loud confidence, not performance confidence. It's quiet confidence. When your marketing is unclear, you often feel unsure even when you know your work is good. You hesitate when people ask what you do. You over-explain. You add extra details just in case. And that hesitation shows up everywhere. In sales conversation, in emails, in content. This isn't because you lack skill. It's because your message hasn't settled yet. Clarity gives your message a place to land. Once that happens, you stop second guessing yourself as much. You don't feel the need to justify everything. You can say less and mean it. That kind of confidence is felt, not announced, and people respond to it. Another reason marketing feels difficult is because it often feels personal. When something doesn't work, it's easy to take it as a reflection of you. The post didn't perform well. The campaign didn't convert. The response was quiet. And suddenly it feels like a judgment. This is where separating you from the message becomes important. Marketing is a process of learning what lands. It is not a verdict on your ability or value. Clarity helps here too. When your message is clear, feedback becomes information instead of criticism. You can look at results and say, that didn't land, instead of, I failed. That shift is small, but it protects your energy. And energy matters a lot when you're doing this long term. There's also a long-term aspect to marketing that is easy to miss. Most people think marketing works when it convinces someone quickly, but a lot of marketing works quietly, over time. People notice you before they engage. They remember you before they act. They trust you before they reach out. Clarity speeds this up, not because it pushes harder, but because it sticks. When people consistently understand what you stand for, they don't need to relearn you every time they see your work. You become familiar, and familiarity lowers friction. That's why marketing that feels slow at first often turns out to be the most effective later. At some point, almost everyone feels the urge to rush marketing, to skip steps, to try something louder, to do what looks like it's working for someone else. That urge usually comes from pressure. Pressure to grow faster, pressure to show progress, pressure to not fall behind. When that happens, it helps to come back to clarity instead of speed. Ask yourself whether what you're about to do makes your message clearer or noisier. Rushing rarely improves clarity. It usually just adds volume. And volume without clarity is exhausting for everyone involved. Here's something many people need to hear. You are allowed to slow your marketing down. You are allowed to repeat yourself. You are allowed to focus on one message longer than feels comfortable. Most people underestimate how long it takes for clarity to register. What feels repetitive to you often feels reassuring to your audience. Consistency builds trust, not because it's flashy, but because it's dependable. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one simple thought. The next time you sit down to work on your marketing, do not start with what to post, where to post, or which tool to use. Start with one quiet question. Who is this actually for? If you can answer that clearly, most marketing decisions become easier. If you cannot, that is not a failure. It just means that is where your attention should go next. You do not need to fix everything at once. You just need to notice where clarity is missing. That alone will already improve how your marketing feels. In the next episode, we are going to talk more about this question and why it matters so much. Thanks for joining me for the very first episode of the Marketing Gamut Podcast. If you found this helpful, make sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. You can also visit marketinggamut.com for more practical marketing insights. And you can find us on social media as Marketing Gamut. You can find the links on our website at marketinggamut.com. Thanks again for being here. I'll see you in the next episode, helping you make smarter marketing choices. Once again, this is your host Sheila, signing off.